Hi, my name is Jeff Pagano, and welcome to the Harpin on Rugby podcast. Joining me this week is someone back for his 48th cap, coming to us from the Great Rock of Gibraltar. Welcome back to Mr. Rich Massoud.
Good evening, Jeff. It's great to be back after a bit of a hiatus, but there you go.
Great to have
Great,
you back
great
indeed,
to be
and
back.
good to have a nice victory to be chatting about as well. It's always helps, always
Always a
helps.
good thing. Yay.
Indeed. Okay, well, let's turn our attention to that feature match of the weekend. Here's a generic 80-word summary of how things went. Leinster overturned a 10-point deficit to beat Ulster 24-20 in a gripping URC clash at the Aviva. Ulster struck early through Cock and Stewart, capitalising on loose Leinster moments to lead 17-7 at half-time. Leinster's scrum and bench power shifted momentum, with Kenny and Lowe crossing to narrow the gap. After Doak's penalty pushed Ulster further ahead, sustained pressure told. A late maul try from Dan Sheehan, converted by Harry Byrne, sealed a bonus point comeback win. Now, obviously, we'll be going into a little bit more detail than that. And for the second week in a row, Leinster had to grind out a victory after being behind at halftime. So while last week we started off with the positives, I thought maybe this time we should probably kick off with what was going wrong for Leinster in that first half. And much of it was self-inflicted, Rich.
Yeah, uh, sadly, I like to call this a self-inflicted shit because that's precisely what it is.
No better words.
Um, I mean, the fact is that you and you can and we will today talk about the grit, the determination, the go forward, um, the just the sheer desire to make sure that you win at the end of the match, at the end of the 80 minutes. But we didn't have to be in that position in the first instance, is the point that I think we have to make. There were a whole host of self-inflicted individual errors, some systemic errors that are, and I suppose that the silver lining in this what can at times be a very frustrating cloud is the fact that they are self-inflicted, and therefore they should, in theory, be easily, well, not easily, but certainly something that you can work upon. Because it's not something that you're dependent on somebody else to fix for you, but rather something that you can fix for yourself. Um, and just to contrast the point that we're making, we just have to go to the eighth minute. This was the first scrum of the match, and this is where we started to show already the dominance that we would display throughout the match in the scrum. We just absolutely mullered the Ulster scrum throughout this match. Uh, Pipped them in line out, perhaps not so much in line out defense, but certainly in securing our own ball, with the exception of a moment that I will mention as well. But this was, scrum in our 22. We absolutely muller their scrum, get a pen, easy exit. Let's go find touch. Lo and behold, Sam doesn't find touch, and doesn't find touch badly. That you can just about miss, and I can almost pardon it if you're going for broke at the end of a match and you want to make sure that you're as close to the line so that you can get your line out, maul it over, and get the result. But it's 0-0. It's the eighth minute of the match. Just secure find touch, secure the line out, move on. It's about, it is game management. It's about the sensible heads getting, in a huddle and saying, "Come on, guys, we're well within our 22. Let's get to the halfway line if we can, gain the line out, push on from there." No, you try and go for broke from your own 22. Of course, what happens? You don't find touch, and eventually, although not quite immediately, but there is um, he misses touch. That gives them a penalty. They clear. There is a line out, well within the Ulster half. It's very clever. from Stewart. He he skips round the back of the line out after it's gone over 15, so there's no offside lines. So he nicks the ball, charges forward, and before you know it, a couple of minutes later, Ulster are camped on our 5 meter. Um, a few passages of play later, and it ends up with a very clever kick across the park for Cock to pick the ball up beyond Frawley's outstretched arms and just canter in for the first try of the evening. So just like that, I'm not saying it's directly related to, but if you have possession in their half, and if you're putting pressure on the opposition in their half, they don't get the easy out. You put them under pressure rather than ending up as a direct result of what is a silly mistake, because we're trying to go for broke when we shouldn't really do, and we end up conceding a try. So just one of those silly instances, and there were several throughout the course of that first half, particularly, although some of them in the second half. But this was the reason I wanted to raise this particular point was because it's completely juxtaposed to the scrum dominance, where you've got a solid platform there from which to attack. You get a penalty, and then individual error, and whoa, back you come again. It's not the only one. Sam missed another one on the 33rd minute. He missed, and he missed that one very, very badly. I mean, the first one was bad enough. The second one was even worse. So instead of pinning them back in their own half, we ended up conceding another try when there was a very loose pass from Texter, hacked forward by Doak, and went into the welcoming arms of Werner Koch, and over he went again under the posts. We're not doing that.
Yeah, it is frustrating. I mean, like, as Leinster fans, I suppose we've been getting a lot of stick the last few weeks for criticizing our own team. Sometimes from outside Leinster fans, sometimes from actual Leinster, so-called Leinster fans. I don't think there's anything wrong with being critical. It's we love our team, same as anyone else, and we've no divine right to win matches. And we know what we want to expect from our team. I think in this case, you talked about two fortunate Ulster tries, and like you say, taken in isolation, you could kind of understand that sometimes bounce to the bottom in rugby, but it has been happening quite a bit the past few weeks. We had two similar tries against Leicester last week. There was another one against Harlequins the day before where they got or the week before where they got their bonus point try. So to do it once is sort of careless, but when it keeps happening every week, you do have to kind of wonder what's happening. And I think it is on our side of the ball. It's what we're doing with the ball. The defense, yeah, the Tector, I think the Tector thing was most important. If your number 12 isn't going to make a tackle like that, you're going to struggle. I think Lowe was almost playing catch up. I think he kind of assumed that he was going to get him, but he should have been on the ball, should have been able to follow up. Stewart made that try easier. But I think overall, though, defensively we ground them down in the second half. It became less likely that they were going to score. After the break, I think we sorted things on that side, but it was in the attack. Now, Tom, a few weeks ago, did a really good explanation of like what we're trying to do with the ball, especially when Sam is starting. They try to give him extra creative players, maybe at 12 or at 15 in other positions to facilitate this kind of coast to coast kind of play, and we saw it work. The James Lowe try was to one end, got into then all the way to the other end, and the space was made, and it was there. And when it works, it's great. But the time it took to get there was the problem. And it could be it's game management. I think it's a little bit is Sam management as well. I think that he's gotten to where he is because they've seen he's probably I'd say he's done some amazing things in training that they can see, and he can do get that extra bit out of the rugby ball. But like you say, sometimes it's simplifying it and doing the simple things in the early stages to try to build a lead. And then instead of, put the ball in the 22. Don't in the first 10 minutes, you don't have to go that extra and put it in the 5 meter, 5 meters. You don't have to go for that extra. The kick over the top isn't always on early in a phase. The little grubber through, the money ball, the super kick pass, they're always there, and it's great to have in your arsenal. But it's getting when you're playing these teams that you're trying to get past, it's a case of try the simple things first, the basic things you're good at, and don't do high risk things. Go for high risk options that if they're not on the money, then you're really going to struggle. He was doing high balls I think he did one that went straight up and came straight down. Maybe that wasn't the time to do it. I don't know, but it's the early decision making could be the reason why we're conceding way too many first half tries for our liking.
Yeah, I mean, he's not